Hi there. Did you know that when rats were fed artificial sweeteners and also addicted to cocaine, and then they were given a choice, they went for more towards sweeteners compared to cocaine. So the sweeteners and the sugar addiction was even worse than the cocaine addiction. So that just tells you the amount of the dopamine response that people can get with the sweeteners and the feel goodness that comes when the sweeteners hit our tongue and then going to our brain. It is so strong that it's harder and it's worse than even cocaine addiction. So I'm Dr. Indrani Raman. I am the founder of Excel Health MD. In our clinic, we do prescribe low carb diet and keto diet every day to our patients. And this is one of the most common questions that comes from the patients because they are trying to wean themselves off the sugar. And then one of the common mistakes they think is that they can use more artificial sweeteners and then they can drink diet sodas and then they can hopefully lose weight and that there won't be any consequences to it. But I do want to clarify a few things today and make you aware that it does come with some penalty, that artificial sweeteners also carry some health consequences with them. So hang in there. I'm going to be talking about this for the next 10 minutes. So we're going to talk about different types of sweeteners and also including artificial sweeteners. So the sweet taste fibers are mostly in the front and the back of the tongue. So whenever we eat a substance that is sweet, it causes a chemical reaction in our mouth with mixing with the saliva, and that's how through the nerve endings, trigeminal nerve endings, it does go into our brain receptors, and that's where it releases a chemical called dopamine. And when you feel good after you eat something sweet is because of the dopamine rush, and also it's like a sugar rush basically, and that's why you feel so good after eating something sweet. Now, one of the things I see that when people eat a low carb diet, then they start, their palate changes. So all of a sudden, they feel that they are not craving the foods that they used to crave before, and their sensitivity to sweetness also improves. So that is a really a good positive point that can happen when you switch to low carb diet. So you realize how sweet these things are that you used to eat before, and how they are not so good for us. So one of the things with the sweeteners, so there's several types. So the first one I would say is the natural sugars. So natural sugars are the ones that you find in our foods, like milk has lactose, the fruits have fructose, and there's also, it's anything that ends with OSE. It's a maltose or galactose. All of these things are all natural sugars. And they do raise of course, they do raise your sugars and your insulin level, and they do give you calories. So one of the caveat you have to remember when you are reading your labels, if they say no added sugar, pay particular attention to the small fonts or the ingredients, where they might have sneaked in things like molasses or high fructose corn syrup, or they may have like a brown sugar or cane sugar, and but these are also same thing as a sugar. But then in the label they would say it's a no added sugar. Sometimes they also add things like honey, and molasses is the most common one. But these also act same as sugar when they go into your body. So natural sugars are straightforward foods that we find every day in our diet. And the next one is sugar alcohols. So the most common examples for sugar alcohol is the xylitol and maltitol, and the new one, which is erythritol. So xylitol and maltitol are most commonly found in chewing gums because they are not that much sweet compared to other artificial sweeteners. So they are sometimes combined with a high intensity artificial sweeteners, which can raise your sugars compared to taking xylitol or maltitol by itself. And the reason they are used in the chewing gum is because it does not cause any dental cavities. They do have a side effect of causing some abdominal spasm and they can also cause diarrhea. So the GI tolerance might be bad with these sugar alcohols in themselves. Now, erythritol can be a little bit better tolerated. It is coming up more and more popular, especially with keto diets. Some people like the taste of it, others don't. So it can also be used as a substitute in a keto diet. It does not raise your sugar that much, and it's less sweet. But you do have to be aware that they can be combined with things like dextrin and maltodextrin, and those can raise your sugars. Um, let's see. So it also is resistant to digestion. So that's the reason that people can be sensitive with the GI issues with the sugar alcohols. So the next one is a natural caloric sweeteners. So the example for these are also getting more popular is stevia. It comes from a shrub in South America, and the stevia is 250 to 300, 200 to 300 times sweeter than sugar. It does have a little bit of bitter taste in them. It can come in the form of a liquid extract like a white powder. It also can come as a whole leaf itself that you can use in your cooking. You do have to be aware that with stevia, it also can be combined with some other high intensity sweeteners like dextrose and maltodextrin, and that is not good for you. Stevia can raise your blood sugar level, and also increase your insulin level in some people, but overall it is not a bad choice if you're gonna use it in your diet. The next one with a natural caloric sweetener is monk fruit, which comes from Thailand and China. It does not have some bitter taste as stevia, and it's pretty much generally well tolerated. It also is 200 times sweeter than sugar, and it does not raise your sugars. It does not raise your blood sugar or your insulin level. So this is also not a bad choice if you're doing a low carb or keto diet. The only caveat with these natural caloric sweeteners is that they do provide some calories, they do add some calories to your diet, but even though they are not raising your sugar or insulin level, they have been known to affect your gut microbiome. So your gut will have a tendency to have different type of bacteria in them, which have been known to cause obesity. So they can be an increased risk overall to metabolic syndrome and increased gut dysbiosis and also obesity. Last but not least are the artificial sweeteners. So these have been around for a long time. The first one produced was saccharin, which is in sweet and low, which is not used that much anymore. Now there have been, FDA says there are several studies have been done which did not show any conclusive evidence that it raises any increased risk of cancer. Aspartame is the next one, which is most popular and used by millions of Americans. I think this is 200 times more sweeter than sugar. It does, the people who have a condition called phenylketonuria, they need to be careful with aspartame because it can worsen their condition. It has a compound called phenylalanine. It also affects your gut bacteria and causes dysbiosis, and it does not cause any increase in sugars, or it by itself it does not cause any increase in glucose or insulin levels. Now the third one is sucralose, which is also an artificial sweetener, which is Splenda. Now this can raise your insulin level and also sugar level. It has been more popular recently, but it may not be such a good choice to be used in low carb or keto diet. It is 600 times sweeter than sugar itself. It does have some carbs, so you have to add 0.5 grams of carbs per teaspoon of your Splenda. It has been known in a few studies to cause increased weight gain. It can worsen your metabolic syndrome and increase obesity risk. Now, the bottom line with all the artificial sweeteners and especially artificial sweeteners is that the FDA says that the studies have not shown any conclusive evidence for increased cancer risk, so they are safe. but they do come with some health consequences. There are several studies which have shown, and also there is a analysis of several studies which shows that they do increase your risk for type 2 diabetes and also increase your risk for weight gain. There was one study which showed that even people with normal weight, when they had even like one of these diet sodas per day, it raised their increased risk for diabetes up to 18%, compared to 7% risk of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, when they had when they take a fruit juice every day. So that just means that there is an effect on those of these artificial sweeteners on our body, that can, it kind of tricks the body into thinking that there is no calories are coming, it is more sweeter. So it does increase the brain into thinking, getting releasing more dopamine, and you're having more sugar rush. So they can be addictive. So diet sodas can be as addictive as regular sodas. So you have to be aware of that, and they're not any easy to wean off compared to the regular ones. And I see that all the time in my clinic. And the body also gets what's called a cellular hunger, because these are artificial products. So the body is tricked into thinking that it's not getting any food, and then you tend to stay hungry, and then you also tend to crave more sweets when you're taking all these artificial sweeteners in your diet. So moderation is key. And the ones which are more common and less bad effects on your body will be the monk fruit, the stevia, and also erythritol. So those might be okay choices if you're doing low carb and keto diet. But also be aware that too much of this in your diet can put you at risk for type 2 diabetes, obesity, and metabolic syndrome. And I know right now in this country this has become an epidemic. So just be aware of that. The better options for you would be eating more natural, unprocessed food, and maybe having a little bit of more natural sugar, but overall eating a low carb diet without using too much artificial ingredients will be a better option and healthy overall for all of you. I hope that is helpful. If you have any questions, do post in the comments below. And if you want me to talk about any kind of topics that are interesting to you, feel free to leave a comment below. I would like to talk to you all. Every Tuesday, every Tuesday, I will be talking about holistic weight loss. And on Thursdays, I talk about functional wellness. So we're going to be talking more about optimized living and wellness topics over there. And if anybody wants to see me and wants to start a low carb or keto diet, go to our website and schedule a visit, excelhealthmd.com. I'll be happy to help you out. And guys, if you like these messages and this education that you get here, please go ahead and like our page and subscribe and share it with your friends, so that they also benefit from all this education. Our goal in the practice is, don't wait till sickness. Start your wellness today. Take care.